A dad receives an anonymous package. He opens it only to find out it's from his daughter, who vanished 12 years ago. What did the mysterious package contain? Let's find out in today's episode. Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss an update. It was one of those cold winter nights where the wind howled outside and the temperature dropped well below zero. A man named Thomas sat alone in his house, sipping hot chocolate while watching the snow fall outside. The silence was only broken by the crackling of the fireplace and the soft music playing in the background. He was a retired police officer who had seen his fair share of ups and downs in life. But lately, he couldn't shake off this unsettling feeling of emptiness and gloom that seemed to follow him everywhere. He looked at the framed picture of a young girl hanging on the wall. Her bright smile and sparkling eyes seemed to mock him, reminding him of the happiness he once had before his life took a tragic turn. He sighed heavily, trying to push the painful memories away. He was a strong and resilient man, but even he had his breaking point. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door, pulling him out of his thoughts. He slowly made his way to the door, his heart pounding in his chest. As he opened the door, he was greeted by a large package wrapped in brown paper and tied securely with a thick rope. There was no card or any indication of who had sent it. Puzzled, he carried the package inside and placed it on the table in the living room. He looked at the package, wondering who would have sent him such a strange gift on such a cold night. He tried to remember if he had made any new friends lately, or if he had offended anyone that might want to play a prank on him. But nothing came to mind. As he continued to ponder over the mystery of the package, his eyes fell on the intricate wrapping job. It was clear that whoever had sent the package had taken great care to ensure it arrived safely. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to open the package. As he carefully unwrapped the layers of brown paper, he found a wooden box. The box was beautifully crafted and had a brass lock on it. He ran his fingers over the smooth surface of the box, feeling a sense of anticipation build up inside him. He didn't know what to expect, but he couldn't help but feel that whatever was inside the box was important. With shaking hands, he reached for the brass key hidden under the brown paper and inserted it into the lock. As the key turned, the lock clicked open and the box creaked open. He held his breath as he lifted the lid, revealing a white cloth neatly folded inside. He carefully unfolded the cloth and found a diary. The diary was bound in leather and had a silver clasp. He opened the diary, its pages filled with neat handwriting. The diary must have belonged to someone very special to the sender, considering the effort they had taken to hide it. As he began reading the diary entries, he found himself transported to another time and place. He learned about the sender's hopes, dreams, and fears, as well as their deepest secrets and desires. With each passing page, he felt a growing sense of connection with the sender. He couldn't help but admire their strength and resilience as he learned about the challenges they had faced and overcome. As he read on, his heart began to race. The entries were becoming more frantic and desperate, filled with fear and sadness. The sender's voice grew weaker and more hopeless as the entries continued. The last entry was dated a year ago. It spoke of a dark and terrifying event that had befallen the sender, leaving them feeling betrayed, scared, and alone. The final words of the entry were, "I don't know what to do. I'm all alone and I'm scared." He closed the diary, his heart heavy with emotion. He could feel the pain and despair that the sender had endured, and he couldn't help but wonder why they had kept these diaries hidden for so long. He knew he had to do something to help, but he wasn't sure where to start. He thought about contacting the police, but he wasn't sure if they would take him seriously. The diaries didn't contain any names or identifying information, and without that, it would be difficult to locate the sender. He knew he couldn't just sit back and do nothing. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. He began searching online for any news reports or missing persons databases that might have information about the sender. He pored over the details, hoping to find a match. Finally, he came across a missing persons report that matched the description of the sender. He learned that she had been missing for over a year and that her family was offering a reward for any information leading to her whereabouts. He contacted the number provided in the missing persons report and introduced himself. He explained that he had found some diaries that belonged to the missing person and that he believed they might hold clues to her whereabouts. The person on the other end of the phone was her brother, and he was eager to hear anything that might help locate his sister. Thomas agreed to meet him at the police station the next day to hand over the diaries. As he prepared to leave, he noticed something strange. One of the pages in the diary had a small tear in it, and when he opened it, he found a tiny photograph tucked inside. The photograph showed a young girl with bright eyes and a mischievous grin. She was standing in front of a playground, holding a red balloon in her hand. Something about the girl's face seemed familiar to Thomas, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. The next day, he arrived at the police station and handed over the diaries to her brother. The brother's face lit up with gratitude, and he thanked Thomas profusely. Before leaving, he asked Thomas if he could take a look at the photograph Thomas had found. He looked at the girl in the photo, and his eyes widened in shock. He quickly apologized and left without saying another word. Thomas watched him go, puzzled by his reaction. He couldn't understand why the brother had reacted so strongly to the photograph. As he walked away from the police station, he couldn't shake off the feeling that he had just uncovered something big. He thought about the diary entries and the photograph, wondering what secrets they held. He knew he shouldn't pry, but he couldn't help but feel curious about the missing girl. Days turned into weeks, but there was still no news about the missing girl. Thomas couldn't help but worry about her and wonder if she was ever going to be found. He thought about the diaries and the photograph and couldn't shake off the feeling that he had missed something important. He decided to take matters into his own hands and see if he could find anything else that might help locate her. He went back to the park where the photograph had been taken and began searching the area. He talked to people who worked at the park and the local residents, but no one seemed to remember seeing the girl in the photograph. Just when he was about to give up, an elderly woman approached him. She had been sitting on a nearby bench and had witnessed the entire scene. She told Thomas that she remembered seeing the girl in the photograph and that she had lived in the neighborhood with her parents. Thomas's heart skipped a beat. This was the break he had been waiting for. He thanked the woman and hurried home to look through the diaries again. He pored over the entries, hoping to find any mention of the girl's name or address. Finally, he found it. In one of the early entries, the sender had mentioned her full name. He quickly searched the internet and found a social media account that matched her name. He cautiously clicked on the profile, and his heart raced as he saw a familiar face staring back at him. It was the girl from the photograph. But it wasn't just any ordinary girl. It was his daughter, Sarah, who had gone missing 12 years ago. Overwhelmed with emotion, he quickly typed out a message, hoping that she would respond. To his surprise, she did. They began chatting online, and Thomas couldn't believe his eyes. His daughter was alive and well and living in the same city as him. They arranged to meet in person, and when they finally saw each other, it was like no time had passed at all. They embraced tightly, tears streaming down their faces. He couldn't believe that his daughter was alive after all this time, and he was overjoyed to have her back in his life. However, there was still one unanswered question. Why had she disappeared in the first place? And why had she resurfaced now after all this time? Thomas knew he needed to tread carefully and respect her privacy. He didn't want to push her to talk if she wasn't ready, but he couldn't shake off the feeling that something else was going on. Over the next few days, he tried to get to the bottom of what had happened to his daughter all those years ago. He researched her disappearance and found that the police had never given up on finding her. They had interviewed everyone in the neighborhood and followed up on every lead, but they had come up empty-handed. He couldn't help but wonder why she had hidden herself away for so long. He sat down with his daughter and gently asked her why she had kept in touch all this time. He could tell that it was difficult for her to talk about it, but she eventually opened up. She told him that she had run away from home because she was being bullied at school. She had met some people who had welcomed her, and she had been living with them since then. She had never contacted him because she didn't want to put him and her mother through any more pain. Relieved that she was safe, he apologized for not being able to protect her all those years ago. He promised her that he would always be there for her now and that nothing would ever drive them apart again. They embraced tightly, tears streaming down their faces. He couldn't believe that his daughter was alive after all this time, and he was overjoyed to have her back in his life. But as the days went by, he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was still bothering her. He noticed that she would often get lost in thought and would become agitated for no apparent reason. He knew that she was hiding something from him, but he respected her privacy and didn't push her to talk. One evening, he decided to surprise his daughter with dinner at her favorite restaurant. As they sat down to eat, he brought up the subject of her future plans. He wanted to know if she had any goals or dreams that he could support. She hesitated for a moment before answering. She told him that she was planning to travel and that she had always wanted to visit Europe. He smiled and told her that he would help her make her dreams come true. He knew that she was still struggling with something, but he hoped that traveling would help her relax and enjoy life. He paid for the meal, and they left the restaurant. As they walked side by side, he noticed that his daughter was still distant and withdrawn. He stopped walking and turned to her, asking her if she needed anything. She looked up at him with tearful eyes and nodded. "I need you to promise me something," she said. "What is it?" he asked. "I want you to promise that you won't tell anyone that I'm alive," she replied. "Why would I do that?" he asked, confused. "Because I'm not ready for everyone to know yet," she whispered. "I'm sorry, Dad, but I need you to keep my location a secret for now." He was shocked. He couldn't believe that his daughter was still hiding things from him. He had hoped that she would be happy to be reunited with him, but it seemed like he had been wrong. He tried to convince her to open up, but she was adamant. She told him that she needed time to adjust to being back in her old life, and that she would let him know when she was ready to share her story. He knew he couldn't force her to talk, but he couldn't help but feel disappointed. He had dreamed of reuniting with his daughter and sharing her life, but it seemed like he would have to wait longer than he had hoped. Have you liked the story? Tell us in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share for more amazing stories.